and welcome to Blenheim Palace in Oxfordshire.
You join us live for Britain's biggest ever garden design competition.
This is the Great Garden Challenge. I'm Janet Ellis.
And I'm Chris Beardshaw.
Welcome to week 5 of the Great Garden Challenge.
Now we're halfway through the first round of our competition, which means we've got 34 finished gardens here in the walled garden at Blenheim Palace. And this is Friday's winning garden, a very contemporary piece with exotic planting and a very extravagant glass cube as a centrepiece.
And that's what our gardens are all about. Plenty of tips and ideas that you'll want to use in your own space.
Now 17 teams have got through to the next round already, and the 2 teams competing to make it number 18 are, well, ready to do battle.
We'll meet them in a minute, but first, this is what we have for you today. Today's gardens shine all year. Steel mixes with stone in a dazzling contemporary courtyard and is pitted against a garden surrounded by forbidden fruit. Our plant doctors, Chris and Anne-Marie, sort out fungus on your wood chip and tell us how to keep an Actinidia in the pink. And if you want to know all about choosing apple trees or growing edible flowers, Chris has all the tips you need. And here are today's judges, and alongside Anne-Marie Powell, we welcome back James Alexander Sinclair. Hope you've missed us hugely.
I have missed you so much. I've missed you like chips miss salt and vinegar.
Nice allegory, that is. And this is Friday's losing garden, Willy Wonka's chocolate garden, which was a sweet idea to coin a phrase, but not the winning one.
No, it wasn't. I mean, there were elements about the garden that we did love. I mean, this boat is fantastic, but it's set in a garden which, to me, suggests children, but the materials are all loose and there's spiky plants, and it was intended for adults, and I wished that they'd just done it for the kids and gone for it.
But it's kind of a misleading title, wasn't it, James?
It is. I mean, I saw it for the first time today and I thought, where are the lollipops? Where are the chocolate bits? Where are the dolly mixtures? All that stuff. Where is it?
It's our normal conversation, practically, isn't it? What about today's gardens?
Well, today's gardens, we've got one which is putting its faith entirely in shiny aluminium, glass and hard landscaping, and the other is taking exactly the opposite tack, all soft and sumptuous planting.
Well, we'll see those gardens at the end of the show, but here are today's teams. Kate Brown and Mark Feehan have already worked together on a number of gardening projects. Kate has been a self-employed garden designer for the last 7 years, and Mark has run his own landscape company for the past 15. They'll be working on a contemporary design called Steel and Stone, using a mixture of pre-cut landscape products and original artwork. Glass panels and aluminium screens will overlook an ornamental petal circle of stone in the centre. Let's hope the team are as resilient as the materials. Kate and Mark, welcome to the Great Garden Challenge.
Thank you.
Steel and Stone, look at you, warm, soft woman. Why have you called your garden that?
Well, those are the 2 of the key elements that you're going to see in our garden, steel and stone. I mean, I guess in terms of what inspired me to use those, I'd love to be able to say something very profound and esoteric, but I don't think I can.
Don't worry.
No. I basically was just doodling with geometric shapes and came up with the design. I like formal gardens. I mean, I'm very fond of formal style, and I've used a similar concept in another garden in a country setting, using yew trees, yew for hedging,
Lovely.
rather than the steel. But for this garden, I wanted to do a sort of high-impact urban garden, sort of city garden. So that's why I'm using some contemporary materials.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
And a lot of hard landscaping as well. Are you up for that?
Yeah, it's quite good. It's sort of interesting to do something that's like a sunflower as well, a natural stone. So it'll be quite interesting to put together because it's quite intricate as well. So yeah, it's good fun.
But there isn't any steel.
Well, not as such.
No, there
not
isn't, is there?
Not as such. But the aluminium that we're using has a brush finish, doesn't it?
Finish.
So it's got a very steel-like
effect.
finish, and it would have cost such a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
it cost a long leg to put actual steel in, much as we'd have liked to have done that.
Is it true you've had a bit of a hard time working with garden designers, Mark?
Yes.
Shut your ears to this bit.
No, you,
5 years ago, yes, I would have said I wouldn't work with designers, but we met about 5 years ago, and
That was how first thing he
Yeah.
said to me when I met him.
Was it?
Don't get on with garden design.
they have a tendency of bending bricks that don't bend and water that doesn't run the right way. But
I'm
we've
sure
worked
you've
well
got
now.
a very long list.
Yes, we work well.
I've won you over.
You
really.
have, yeah. Confidence
Well,
with
we're all
designers.
part of your therapy.
Yes.
Let's meet your competition. Caroline Baird and Claire Jones are friends. Caroline left a career in journalism to cultivate her green fingers and completed a garden design course in 2004. While there, she met Claire, who now works in landscape management. They'll work on Foliage, a garden for all seasons. A blossom hedge and fruit trees will border the garden, which will house a gravel path and raised decking area. With a barbecue, seating area and a water feature, this garden aims to be both entertaining and relaxing. We'll soon find out how pleasurable the judges find it. Welcome, Caroline and Claire.
Thank you.
We've got Foliage, a garden for all seasons. Obviously not much steel and stone for you.
I'm sorry, no what?
No steel and stone.
No, it's a very natural space. We wanted to have a garden which we could enjoy sitting in as well as not being a slave to, because I think a lot of gardeners spend a lot of time working on their gardens. This is a garden where you're just going to relax all year. You're going to have beautiful foliage around you, and the blossom hedge at the back of the garden will enable you to define the seasons. You'll have the blossom at springtime, which is now, and then in the autumn you've got the beautiful fruit.
So you've really thought of a garden here that's going to develop over the course of our show as well.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Very thoughtful.
Pleasure.
And you normally do municipal landscaping, don't you, Claire? So there's a bit of a swap for you.
Yeah, it's quite worrying, because I know that the groundsman might be watching today, so they'll be like looking for those bits that I might be doing wrong. So
Not that you would have done anything wrong.
no.
That's very supportive, but I know you've gone to almost unnecessary lengths to prove that you're physically up to the challenge.
Well, yeah, I did do a triathlon yesterday.
No need for that, was there?
No,
you could just have got here and
It was
wielded
just
a
to get me
spade.
in shape, obviously, for building this garden. So
Tell me about the Australian connection that you both got.
Well, we didn't realise it at the time, but we're both Australian, dual nationality, and I think that it's helped us because it's made us very easygoing and enjoying Australian wines. So,
that makes us easy going.
yeah, exactly.
I've no doubt that's very bonding indeed. And you've got teams watching you too, haven't you?
Yes, it's very scary, but I hope that they see that we've had a good time, because we
Yeah.
really have enjoyed it.
Fantastic. And we'll see your finished garden at the end of the show, but I know you'd like to go and finish it off now, so I'll let you go to it.
Thank you.
Okay,
Join
thank
us
you.
after the break when the plant doctor's in session with some mulch that needs looking at, some bark mulch. See you in a minute. Welcome back to the Great Garden Challenge, live from the walled garden at Blenheim Palace. Every day we bring you 2 new gardens full of inspiration, tips and ideas for your own garden. Now let's see what happened when work started 4 days ago on Kate and Mark's Steel and Stone garden. As the designer, it's Kate's prerogative to instruct and Mark's mission to get on with the hard graft. With the turf up, Kate's on at Mark, gets set, and on goes the central stonework.
Into these spaces, don't they? So,
Put that up there. Just see.
yeah, we're just about ready.
Getting stuck in.
Yes, isn't it good?
What a good start.
We have. We're really pleased.
Your garden emanates from the middle, doesn't it?
It does.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you've got this fantastically large stone motif, haven't you?
It's very big.
It looks big on your plan.
It
but
does, I know it looks
I mean,
huge,
it's just
doesn't
going to go to the end of these
Yeah,
scales,
That's right.
isn't
That's
it?
about it.
And then the planting comes round about.
Right.
And then we've got some steel screens that go
Very sexy, Kate.
very sexy they are.
But this is what I want to focus on at the moment, because
Sure.
I presume that this was what you found first. Is this what gave you the inspiration, or where
we
did
also-
you start? Where did this come from?
I think it would start with a circle. I mean, we're always going to do a circle, but it was just something a little bit different to the norm. And with it being natural stone, it's always nice to work with natural stone because it's better, but more. It's got more sort of shapes to
And
it.
have you had this cut, or?
No, it's a pre-formed. You can buy it.
And it's not prohibitively expensive, I should imagine, either.
No, it's not too bad.
You say that with a smile on your
I
face.
can tell you the price. But,
Go on then. How much
about,
was it?
About £400, including the VAT.
For a big
Yes.
statement like that,
Oh, yes.
I don't think that's too
No,
much,
not
is
considering
it?
it's imported as well. So.
Sunflowers may not be a native species on the Blenheim estate, but nevertheless, Kate and Mark have soon cultivated one on their plot.
You okay? What you found?
A worm.
A worm?
I don't like chopping them in half. That's the trouble.
Well, that's the designer in you.
Yeah, I know. Total wimp. Yep.
Rest assured, no worms were harmed in the making of this garden. In fact, everything seems to be going well.
As a designer, I work with Mark to build some of my gardens, and Mark will give me some design work as well. So we've worked together quite a lot. I'm doing all the girly things, fetching and carrying, the boss.
Yeah, I'm doing all the hard landscaping, and Kate's going
Just wait.
do the planting.
Just wait till tomorrow.
Then I can stand back and watch then. Yeah.
Yes. I'm the boss then.
Crack the whip.
Halfway through the challenge, there's a lot of landscaping to be done, but the team are cracking on.
Good.
Especially when you consider that their competitors have only just put in their posts.
Well, it's interesting
Looking
to
good,
see
they're working
what our
hard.
competition is like, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a bit early days yet.
Yes, we're intrigued to see. We haven't quite worked out what their design is as yet, but it's intriguing to see. We've been watching the posts going in.
They're nice.
So we'll be watching to see how it shapes up.
Yeah.
I know everyone has the same time restriction, but they have done a lot, haven't they, in a short space of time, those two?
They have cracked on. I mean, they have got an awful lot to do in that garden. So they've actually saved themselves some time by using a sort of modular terraced area. That already comes in a kit form, and you just lay it down like that. So quite quick to put down.
Yeah, the people who built things off-site have definitely gained, haven't they?
Yeah,
even
they
if they've had
certainly
to level up a bit when they get here. And the sunflower motif was at £400, so it's relatively cheap.
It is, and you can get them in lots of different designs. I mean, I think it's a good idea to actually see them before you buy them in the flesh, because sometimes they can look very different to they do in the brochure.
You know, I think there's an idea that people have this, they're going to put a really contemporary feeling into their garden. It's going to cost them a pretty packet.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, with contemporary materials, you're using an awful lot of steel and glass to get that kind of look, which looks so well in towns. And you take all that inspiration from everything that you see around you, and it just fits so well in a city garden. But you can use the sort of similar materials, but for cheaper costs. I mean, they haven't used stainless steel there. They've actually used aluminium sheet, which has been sprayed with a stainless steel finish.
Which works really well.
And they've got these little glass panels coming, which are very pricey. I believe they cost about £850 to make those. But I know, again, you can use perspex as an alternative. So just use little bits, and never, ever, ever, if you're going to save money on your materials, never scrimp on the finish. The way everything is bolted together is really important if the garden is going to work.
Am I right with a slight suspicion that contemporary might mean temporary too, that you might tire of it, so you don't want to invest everything that you have into a garden that you'll be sick of in a few years?
Exactly. I mean, contemporary spaces are expensive, so certainly be sure of what you're doing before you even begin. Yeah. Big investment.
Now, do you want to play Plant Doctors?
I do, I nearly forgot.
May.
I shall go now.
We'll catch up with Kate and Mark's garden when it gets to the planting stage in a minute, but now, indeed, here is Plant Doctor. Plant, but not her husband just yet. But if you've got any plants that are in need a bit of care and attention, give us a call for an appointment with our plant doctor here at Blenheim. The number is 09011. Stop it, there's nothing wrong with you. 09011 222322. Calls cost 25 pence a minute, but mobile rates might vary. Or you can log on to our website at www.channel4.com/4homes for all the information, how to get in touch with us, and indeed the days that we are here. Now it's time to catch up with Caroline and Claire and see how things went for them when they started work 4 days ago. With decking and a water feature, Caroline and Claire's design relies on a level plot. So the girls start the day by bringing up the turf and bashing down those bumps. There's a lot of hard landscaping to do, and they're going so slowly it's like watching moss growing on a rock. But those boots are made for digging, and digging's what they do.
But we've already done, the thing is we've got the levels already set for these posts, so that's why we could actually start with those.
All right.
By the end of day one, the girls' competitors are making good progress, and Caroline and Claire seem to be lagging behind. With no obvious clues, Bunny tries to find out more about their plan.
What is the actual geography of the thing? What happens where?
You're standing along where the blossom hedge is going to be.
That sounds great, yes.
Then here is the centre of the deck that we've got.
Yes.
And then...
With a pool at the end.
With a pool at the end.
Yep.
And then graduating steps down with the posts.
Yeah.
And then planting surrounding a gravel path going up.
Sounds quite a lot to do. I'm not being sexist, but for two girls, it's, you know, you've got your work cut out. Are you worried at all or not?
Well, we've pre-built the deck into four sections, which basically all lock together. So, because to be honest, that would have been
could have been tricky.
Within
a short
to
time frame, I bet. So now you can just plop it into shape.
Yes.
The pool, how about that?
That we're going to have to dig out, and that's going to be horrid.
More digging,
Yes,
more digging. Good for the waist, never
yes,
mind.
absolutely. We're going to be so super fit after this.
The next day, the posts are in place, but not much else. The girls continue to work on their levels, and there's still lots to be done.
Which one?
This
one?
side, yeah. A bit harder down to the base. That should knock it. But we've marked out for the water feature, and we're digging it out.
And the deck.
And the deck. Well, the deck we're actually going to lay after we've got the hole dug for the water feature, and we're just going to get all the levels correct on the deck when it comes in. So that's our major plan for today.
The girls may have been behind, but suddenly it looks like things are back on a level playing field.
So this is the moment of truth.
Yes, it's completely level.
Oh, well done. You haven't got to redo the whole thing again.
No, which is good.
And this is where your blossom hedge is going to go, is it?
Yes, I'm actually sitting in the site.
pits.
Yep.
Lovely. And so it's going to be like a mini young version of those along the wall opposite, isn't it, really?
Precisely.
Yes, that was the inspiration.
That's what inspired us with the hedge.
Oh.
This walled garden.
Yeah. Wonderful. That would be a really nice back framework to work to, wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
and it'd be like the central point that you see from the front of the garden. So, yes.
Looking forward to seeing those.
We are
So are we.
Are they slowing themselves down with all that perfectionist measuring?
It's very important to be perfect. You know that.
Yes, slows me down as well. This is the first garden that's got an apple blossom hedge in it.
It is, and it's a little bit early.
Have they forced it then? Because they say it's in flower.
I think what they've done is they basically had it in a slightly warmer place. It's one of those things that you have to be incredibly careful of at this time of year, because a lot of annual plants, and even plants that may be flowering a little bit earlier, that have been under glass in greenhouses, conservatories, on your windowsill, all that sort of stuff. If you suddenly see the sun shining in April and whip them all out, and then it gets cold, because I mean even today, sun's out nice, goes in, it's a bit chilly, and we had snow on the 8th of April. So you have to be a little bit careful of these things.
Is it just me, or are the seasons well peculiar?
They are kind of odd. They are
fair
definitely going weird. And in that we've had, there's something called the UK Phenology Network, who report on climate change, and we've got problems with frogs hatching in October, which is a bad idea for frogs.
October?
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous and silly.
They won't survive that, will they?
No, they'll have to start all over again. They'll have to spawn twice, which is exhausting for the poor little things. And bumblebees. There were bumblebees over a month ago in one of the gardens here. So they're all over the place. So basically we have to be careful of plants, and we have to cover them up with this.
That's lovely.
Which is fleece. So cover your plants up gently with fleece, and don't bring them out in the cold.
So really, there's not much you can do about early blossom. The trees just have to get on with it.
You can't cover a whole tree in this, otherwise it would look ridiculous.
Expensive too. Still, we have to be prepared. Join us after the break when Chris has got, what has he got? He's got edible flowers in the greenhouse. See you soon. Welcome back to the Great Garden Challenge, Britain's biggest garden design competition, coming live from the walled garden at Blenheim Palace. And as usual, today we have two teams of garden designers vying with each other to become today's winner.
And the last time we saw Kate and Mark, the only sign of flowers in their garden was a big sunflower motif on the paving, and they were quite rightly very proud of it. Let's see if they did manage to put any other flowers in.
Kate and Mark's design is contemporary, and with sunflower paving and aluminium screens, this team are giving Tracy Emin a run for her money.
Oh, you two.
Hello.
Yeah,
hi.
Fabulous, doesn't it?
Doesn't it look nice? I know. We're really pleased with seeing it.
This structure, though, that you've got with your steel really does accentuate it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Tell me about it. This construction is actually quite straightforward, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just aluminium panels set into a groove, and then what we're doing is secured it with screws at the back, just to basically just to hold it in.
Yeah.
But I mean, once it's all that comes off. I mean, it's got a real nice finish to
Good
it.
tip this, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
I've always used steel posts actually.
Oh, right,
This is
yes.
Yeah.
such a cheaper alternative, but it
Well, we
looks
thought-
fab, doesn't it?
Well, I think, yes,
Softens
with
it a
staining
bit.
it grey, I think it works because it picks up the grey out of the
Yeah.
stone as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
which should work.
You've got artwork as well, haven't you? Am I right?
have.
To hang in
We have.
front of these
Yeah,
panels.
there's going to be a panel hanging behind
What
you.
is the panel?
You'll have to wait and see.
Oh, they are a tease. But with the foundations in place for the artwork to be installed, there's no hanging about. Mark gets on with putting in the borders, and Kate is quick to exhibit her planting skills.
Oh, Kate.
Hi.
Got some choice plants
Ooh,
there for
yeah.
us, haven't you? Tell me about them. Why have you chosen? This is just a small selection.
This is just it, yes. I mean, we're working with a fairly limited palette of colour because there's a lot happening in the garden. So we wanted to go for silvers and blues with a little bit of kind of claret colour. So there'll be basically some shrubs around. So this is Viburnum davidii. I've chosen because it's good all the year round. It's got nice flowers, which then become quite metallic coloured berries.
I love this plant. I mean, I think a lot of people find it sometimes overused, but I use it all the time because it's just got that great architectural structure.
Absolutely.
Hasn't it?
And yes,
it doesn't get too big.
They'll be lovely. Just that metallic blue we feel would be just right. And then to complement that, we've got the Corydalis flexuosa. Now this really likes shade, part shade, but they'll be tucked under the shrubs so that when they die down, they'll be nice and cool.
Underplanting, isn't it? Just kind of, you know, association of colour there.
That's right. We've done a lot of thinking about it, so I hope it'll be okay. A little bit of white just to brighten it up as well.
Fab.
Things seem to be going well. The competition have only laid 4 plants, and in comparison, Kate and Mark are going great guns. They're still not happy though.
So slow. I'm not a fast worker. This gives me a bit of bother because I'm not quite fast enough working, especially digging the holes, but never
Well,
mind.
I've taken over the whole digging now.
But by the end of day 3, the job looks near completion.
What's that done? TK?
Oh gosh, yes, I'm certainly ready for it.
All that's left to do is have a cup of tea and wait for the judges to view their personal work of art.
So how is it all looking?
Coming on. What do you think?
Oh yeah.
It's not often you see our teams with a cup of tea, actually.
I know, very casual, very relaxed, good organisation, you see.
And good planting.
Yeah, it's good to see that we've got 2 teams today who both know their stuff. They're both really going to town on the planting, very carefully considered, and arranging it in a very imaginative way. And I think they're packing the gardens full of plants, which I always like to see. I mean, why put 1 plant in when you can get 3 in the same hole? You know, I mean, that's the way to think of the plants. Make maximum use of the garden. And I mean, this is quite a good garden to demonstrate that on. The boys were really kind of cramming the purple hazel in here, and then beneath that, you know, a lot of people would think, well, this is a plant that's going to grow and need quite a lot of space. But beneath it, they're allowing the grasses to sweep in. Underneath that, they've then got the sage, and underneath that, they've got the primulas. So they're kind of stacking the plants up.
It does
which
look
is
fantastic.
exactly what
this
happens
was our
in late.
sinuous simplicity
Yeah,
garden.
exactly.
They've done it on this side as well.
Well, exactly. You know, you've got a really good little specimen tree with the eucalyptus there, and then immediately you go right underneath. And if you've got a shrub or a tree that is clothed right to the ground, where the canopy comes right to the ground, the best thing to do is to do what horticulturists describe as lifting the skirt, which is essentially just pruning off the lower branches. It exposes some of the stem, and let's face it, I mean, that eucalyptus has got a beautiful stem on it, really worth admiring, really worth pushing the canopy up for, and that gives you the advantage of giving you more space in the garden. Stick a few more plants in.
But how do you choose which ones to do that with?
Well, what you can do is choose what you like, first of all. A garden is all about getting, you know, your own plants in there, put your own mark on it. So choose what you like. Come up with a scheme or a concept. And also, don't be afraid to go to the garden centre. If you want something in flower in the garden every week, go to the garden centre every weekend, pick up 1 flower that you like or 1 plant that you like, which is in full bloom, that fits with your concept, and then you're guaranteed of getting a garden in flower 52 weeks of the year.
That's a really good idea. I've been doing that without knowing that was the right thing to do.
You see, garden designer in all of us.
How thrilled am I? Well, from ornamental plants to plants that you can eat, because Chris went off to our greenhouse to find out about edible plants. After more digging than an Alcatraz escapee, Caroline and Claire finally get round to some much-needed planting.
So your planting is all about fabulous foliage, isn't it?
Indeed it is.
Is that right?
It is, yes.
And I think it's all about planting with plants with very difficult names. It seems to me this is a favourite, isn't it? This Ligularia.
Go on,
Who's
say
going
it.
to say
Go
it?
on,
Who's
say
going
it.
to say it?
You are.
Przewolski.
Very
isn't
good.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, very
And
good.
it's lovely, but it likes very damp conditions, doesn't it?
But it will tolerate drier conditions. I've got it growing at home in quite a dry spot, and it doesn't grow as vigorously, but
No.
it certainly performs. So
But-
yes, it's an adaptable plant.
But with lovely foliage, isn't it?
Yes.
Really,
Magnificent,
really nice.
definitely.
Magnificent.
And this is definitely one of my favourites. I love this plant.
Euphorbia mycenitis.
Mycenitis. The spelling on this one is more difficult than the sounding,
That's-
really, isn't
yeah,
it, in a
that's
way?
it, yeah.
But it's not as rampant as some of them, is it, unfortunately? I often wish this one would grow a bit more, but I love it, don't you?
Yeah, I have it actually in my garden, and I've had it for a few years from seedlings, and it's actually really sprawled. It's sort of coming out over a raised
Lovely.
bed, so it's kind of, you know, I'm quite pleased with it. So I think that it's going along near the path, so it should actually sprawl, hopefully, quite nicely. So.
Great. And the final one, then, a nice easy name, is the Troisia Aztec Pearl, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, with lovely finger-like foliage. It's very pretty.
Lots of lovely white blossoms.
Yes, quite.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a good plant.
And then our old friend, the old Formium, which is good, useful
Yes.
plant, isn't it?
Well, it's adding height and structure to the garden, which we need.
That sounds great.
The first plants to be placed, though, are the Carex comans.
Oh, I think these are so beautiful.
Yes.
Take them
Do we
out of
untie them
the
is the
wrappings.
next thing.
They look like Rod Stewart on a good day, don't they? Fantastic.
I'd say bad day myself.
Plants in place, it's time for the unveiling of the gravel. It seems there's quite a bit to do, but the team are happy with progress.
Well, there is quite a lot to do, but
Yeah,
this
there
was
is quite a
actually how we had planned it. We had planned for all of these events to take
Yeah.
place today, and we've got quite a few hours to do it in, so hopefully if the weather is kind to us, we'll get it all done. After we've put the grasses on the garden, it's sort of starting to take shape, starting to look good. I'm really quite excited about it.
I think our mission is to actually leave a nice garden for people to look at, and that has
Yes.
always been the point.
Yes,
So,
yes. We don't mind losing as long as it's with dignity, and I think we'll do that. I'm hoping we'll do it anyway.
Hang on, Caroline, don't throw in the trowel just yet. In fact, with an afternoon of hard work, the garden finally looks to be taking shape. Let's hope it's a shape the judges appreciate. Well, Bonnie was really enthusiastic about some of that planting, and in fact, I'm sure that Caroline and Claire's garden will look right to the end of the series. You are welcome to come and see all our show gardens here at Blenheim, but please check the website to make sure that we're here first. Now, you lot, another judging is upon you. No, I'm trying to add weight to your task, which I know you can do without that. Are you prepared, ready, fit, poised? Go then!
All right.
One of our teams today will go through to the quarter-final. Who will it be? Join us after the break when we'll see the finished gardens in all their glory and find out who's going to win today's Great Garden Challenge. And Chris will give us a potted guide to planting apple trees. See you in a minute. Welcome back to the Great Garden Challenge, live from the walled garden at Blenheim Palace. We're about to see today's two finished gardens for the first time. But of course, as ever, there are two more teams of garden designers hard at work on their gardens for tomorrow's show. They are a contemporary wildlife garden with a fishy theme and an Aboriginal paradise. But here are today's important people. Today's teams, Kate and Mark.
Hi.
You okay?
Yeah, fine.
You're quite fond of this particular garden designer, Mark. Let's remind ourselves of your original plan. Kate and Mark used a mixture of pre-cut landscape products and original artwork to create their steel and stone design. Glass panels and aluminium screens overlook an ornamental petal circle of stone in the centre, accented by evergreen planting. You wanted a high-impact contemporary courtyard, didn't you?
We did.
Yes,
Let's see how steel and stone turned out.
Well, Kate and Mark's garden is unashamedly a contemporary space, dominated by hard landscaping. The aluminium sheeting is a pretty effective barrier. If you like contemporary surfaces, then it works really well. We've also got glass sculptures tucked away, set back, which is a useful game to play, I think. It sort of encourages you to explore into the space, and whether it's going anywhere or not, it still adds a certain kind of dimension to the garden. And if you put lights behind something like that, of course, it would really bring a bit of life to the garden in the evening. And then you've got this very elaborate sunflower pattern in Indian sandstone, which is an off-the-peg product, and it works really well, and it's very, very well constructed. And of course, all of this hard landscaping does require a significant amount of soft landscaping to turn it from builder's yard into beautiful garden. And Kate really has gone to town on the landscaping. Things like the Cupressus, known to be a very upright specimen. In fact, it just goes straight up like a pencil. Beneath that, rounded shrubs like Viburnum davidii, really kind of adding a certain kind of bulbous structure. And then sweeping underneath, plants like the little white periwinkle, Vinca minor alba, a really good, very well-behaved ground cover that just kind of nestles amongst the other plants. And then erupting through that ground layer, she's put grape hyacinths, but fairly unusual double forms of grape hyacinth. This may not be a garden which satisfies all of your requirements as a complete garden, but it certainly makes a very significant contribution.
And on to our second garden for today. Caroline and Claire, you feeling okay?
Yes, relieved it's over.
Are you? We've had a good time, haven't
I had
we?
a great time.
Oh,
yes.
I'm really pleased about that. Let's remind ourselves of what you two wanted to achieve. With Foliage, a garden for all seasons, Caroline and Claire wanted to create a garden that could be enjoyed throughout the year. A gravel path leads to a raised decking area, framed by a blossom hedge and fruit tree border. But did it turn out according to plan? Well, let's enjoy the finished result.
This is Caroline and Claire's foliage garden. It's a very simple design. Simple path, simple planting, simple decking, simple water, simple posts. The problem is that simple and dreary are sometimes very, very close together, and this garden is skating on very thin ice. I'm very keen on this back hedge here. This is Malus greensleeves, which is an apple that has been trained to make this barrier along the back here. So it'll be trained along the wires and come through this way, and that'll be a nice blossom hedge at the back here that will then turn into leaves and then finally have some apple in the autumn time. So it's a productive garden as well as a pretty garden. The other rest of it, the planting is, I mean, it's fine and it's okay, but it doesn't get me here. And what I want to see in gardens here is things that get me here and grasp my heart with both hands and squeeze it. And it doesn't quite do it. We've got a choisia there that's forming a hedge, not my favourite plant, but it's okay, and it'll make a very good seaside hedge, that actually. And I like the posts that climb up and go back up into this bit. The deck I have a problem with. It looks as if it's sort of fallen off here. It looks, there should be something here. And the water is too ineffective. I would like the water to come up to this same level and make much more of a thing of it. Then this platform is worth it. At the moment it isn't. It's a nice design, but nice just ain't good enough.
Well, I've heard James more enthusiastic than that, but of course there are two other judges and they've all got 2 more minutes to decide. And while they do, here's an essential guide to apple growing from Chris. Nearly there, teams, but first I have to ask our judges about what your gardens were like. Anne-Marie, design, how did they do?
Well, the designs were both quite simple at their hearts. I mean, they were both seating areas, just surrounded by plants in one way or another. I think the difference really came to when we were looking at the boundaries. I mean, in Caroline and Claire's garden, I think we would have liked to have seen some kind of screen just behind the apples so that they just showed up a little bit and maybe gave a little bit more just support there. But in your garden, Kate and Mark, you have a stunning screen there. It really does make the garden feel very enclosed and you feel very tranquil and relaxed in there.
Practicality, James.
Both gardens are very practical. They both do what they say. They've both got big seating areas that would work in almost any place. I mean, very, very practical gardens, both of them. They both put ticks in that little box.
What about planting?
Planting, well, I think Kate's planting is extraordinary. I mean, a very, very strong colour palette, very well arranged, good composition of plants. The plants look very comfortable, they're very self-assured, they're going to survive, you know, they can do very well. I think I'd have liked a few more plants, to be honest. I mean, you know me from a long time ago, and I'm always, cram a few more plants in. There's plenty of space there, but they will grow. And I think your garden, I completely disagree with James. Absolutely disagree with James. I think your planting is beautiful. I think you really have achieved what you set out to achieve. You've got some very strong characteristics. You've got plants coming and going. I mean, your comment about, you know, it not getting you in the heart. How can you say that? You've got Ligularia coming through. It's going to be fantastic.
OK, who's the winner then?
OK, well, we do have a winner, despite James and I disagreeing ever so slightly. We do have a winner, and today's winners are Kate and Mark.
Well done. Join us tomorrow for 2 more fabulous gardens, 2 more teams, one step closer to the quarterfinals. See you then.
Well done.